everybody. I'm just testing to make sure this sounds okay. Does this sound okay? I put a little bit of Bumbo music in the background, so it's just not me in an empty room. We got 2 days and 2 minutes till the stream. Today I'm going to be answering all of the, I'm going to answer as many questions as I possibly can for the next hour or so. There are, how many are there? Let's see. There's 106 questions on the Reddit, and I'm going to try to answer them to the best of my ability. Reading them is going to be the hardest, though. I should probably have shaved and got a haircut, but I have not done anything. Now people are just asking me a bunch of questions that are popping up. Should probably lock this thing. All right, I'm just going to say we're live. Okay. It's about that time. We got 2 days. 2 days till release. I've sent quite a lot of codes out to all the streamers that you guys recommended and the obvious OG Isaac streamers. Hopefully they will have something nice and spicy for you tomorrow. I think the embargo date is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it'll be interesting to see. Please keep in mind that we still will have one full day of development. In that day, and today, and tonight, I got to put together a trailer. I got to play test the game as much as possible. I got to report bugs, and James needs to stay alive. We still have... The current build actually has a bunch of sound effects in and a bit of polish. We still have a bunch of polish to add. Some menus, some sound effects, and some bug fixes. For the most part, it's fully functional. Hopefully it doesn't break on everybody's streams, but if it does, you'll know that will be fixed either by launch, or if it's caught after launch, it will be updated shortly. But I'm pretty happy with it, and you guys have seen me play it, so I might play it after this as well if I get time, at least one run, just so you guys can see the new updates and stuff like that, because a lot has happened. All right, should I? Oh yeah, Takara's in the new build, the Fantastics. The sound is very fantastic. Jay and Matthias did a tremendous job, and Takara, what you're hearing is a third of the sound effects, maybe less. I've been making some myself. I've been making fart noises into a microphone and a lot of this. A lot of this. A lot of this. So get ready for that too. I'm a Foley artist. Also, yeah, we're going to do a lot of cool pop cap like polish tonight and tomorrow. I've been updating with a bunch of level stuff, but we should probably dig in because... So, note, I'm not going to be looking at the screen for the most part. I'm not going to be reading your guys' comments. I'm going to be reading the comments on Reddit. If you guys would like to follow along, you can. I'm going to go from the top highest voted all the way down as far as I can go in the next hour. And please excuse my inability to read, but I'm going to get the gist of it. And I'm going to be confident, and I'm going to... Reading aloud in school was soul-crushing for me. I'm dyslexic, so sometimes I get caught up and then it just spirals out of control. So we'll start with the top one. Do you think you could take John Blow in a fight? If so, do you think Danielle could take John Blow in a fight? And if so, how many peaches do you think it would take to take down John Blow in a fight? There is no way in hell I could beat John Blow in a fight. John Blow is like an incredibly skilled martial artist. He also is pretty in shape. And I'm quite positive he could easily beat me. He does a lot of, like, I think Taekwondo, and he's a ninja master, essentially. I've seen him do some crazy shit. I've heard reports of him fighting off a carjacker once in San Francisco and beating the crap out of him. And so, no. And I think it would probably take 100 peaches, all biting and pinching, to probably take him down. And I think 2 of me probably could take him down. So. Next question. Could we expect another game in the Bumbo Isaac universe? All of my games are loosely attached in some weird way. Isaac is attached to Timefuck, and Timefuck is attached to The End Is Nigh. The End Is Nigh is attached to Mugenics, which is attached to The Binding of Isaac in some way. And I had intentions of attaching Super Meat Boy to all these things, but I'm no longer with the company, so it's not something I can do legally, so I won't be doing that. But yeah, not a direct universe thing, not something as close as like a prequel. If I do a sequel, then I do a sequel, but for the most part, all my games are from the same universe that is in my brain, and they are loosely attached. It's fun to do that sort of stuff. Will Bumbo have a collection page like in Isaac that shows all the spells and trinkets that you've found? Currently, it does not. Once we release, if you guys really want that, and it's something that we can do, I don't see why we couldn't do that. But currently, no. Much like the original Isaac, there's going to be features that you guys may expect that haven't been added. We lost a good amount of time. I don't know if you guys know the power. I lost about 7 days last month of work due to power outages and my laptop also being fried, and all the bad stuff that had happened. And James also has his own personal stuff going on, so we are cramming everything into the last 2 days of development. But it's looking great. It's really shaping up really nicely, and I hope people will be understanding. If you could retroactively remove any content from Isaac, items, bosses, enemies, what would you remove? If your answer is nothing, pretend I had a gun and you had to remove something. If I could remove content from Isaac. The first thing I could think of would be I would remove the story-driven bosses and add in a few randomly generated or randomly chosen bosses. So there's like more than just Mom, more than just Mom's Heart, more than just Satan. Like there's 2 or 3 options for each, so it felt like more of a thing. I hope that's good enough for you and I don't get shot. Is there a reason you seem to do a lot of the video editing, photo, and general marketing of Bumbo yourself? as good of a job you're doing, it seems that hiring somebody might make more sense, especially when you guys are working so hard on the release to release the game itself. Yeah, I do all the general marketing stuff for all my games. I'm the go-to PR girl, Gerson. I am the go-to for, I'm the guy that gets all the shit in order and shows it to the world and pushes it. And I do that, and I don't hire anybody to do that because I don't think hiring somebody to do stuff like that is necessarily beneficial. I've known quite a few people in the industry that have made a good amount of money and decided to go with PR firms and paid different, very prominent people to do it. And I think it pales in comparison to having the developer themselves who know the game the best to do it. I know it takes time and it spreads me a little thin, but stuff like this, I kind of like it. It gives me a break from the usual grind, and I'm really excited about the stuff that I'm working on, so it's fun to talk about. And I also don't necessarily trust that many other people when it comes to marketing my work. I trust me and the person that I'm working with for the most part. So it could just be a control freak thing, but I don't think I'll ever relinquish that. I want to do the PR. I want to have my hand in all the promotional stuff and marketing. Why does Bumbo want coins so much? If I told you, it would spoil some aspects. It's not directly something that is explained in the game, but there are certain things that happen in the game that will give you a clear picture of why Bumbo wants coin so much. You talked a lot about things you cut from the game because they didn't work out. Is there anything big you cut because of time constraints, or that could return in DLC? I'll answer that first. Looking back, of course, if we hadn't done exploration and spent 8 or 9 months on that, and then to have only eventually cut it, we would have had a really finely polished game out by now. But when it comes to stuff that didn't work out that I really want to put in, I would say no. The crazy thing about the game right now is the more I play it now and the more I watch other people play it, the more I realize how much potential the game actually has. So it's not hard to see where it can go and see really cool mechanical ideas or ideas for characters and bosses or other just general mechanics in the game that would fit really well. It's hard to avoid being inspired when you see something unfold. And so you could say that that's something that we cut because we didn't have a completely finalized working game that was all tuned up and polished until just recently. And now that I've had time to work with it, it's not like we can add a bunch of stuff that I think would be cool at this point, but who knows? I mean, honestly, if the game really sells well and it gains a following, there's no reason why we couldn't do some updates with some cool things and eventually do some sort of DLC. Will any of the Binding of Isaac characters get new starting items in Repentance? I'm sure there's going to be some minor rework of characters, especially the ones like from Anti-Birth and stuff. They've had reworked items and starting stuff. But no, I don't. I would say no on that. Also, thank you for wishing us a smooth release. I hope it's smooth. I wish I was more relaxed. I didn't think I would be this stressed out, but I think it's one of those situations where I see so much potential with the game, and I just want it to live up to what I believe it can live up to. And I do worry that a lot of people will write it off as some sort of Bejeweled type game, which it is in a way, but we'll just write it off because that's just some time waster. I swear to God, it is a good game. I swear it's fun. I swear it's super replayable. I swear it's very, very, very much like The Binding of Isaac in all the ways that you guys like, except it's a super strategic turn-based game. It is turn-based Binding of Isaac with a match 4 core mechanic. And that is more fun than you would assume from videos. But you'll know soon enough. How did red mana originally work? It used to just be as common as all the rest of the tiles. There were issues with it. You could grind it. It would heal you. It's still in as a tile, and red mana was just another mana type that you could randomly have on your spells. It spread the board a little thin. Healing was pretty OP, and I wanted to make the game a little more difficult, so we added in hearts, and we cut the red mana aspect, but we kept hearts for healing, and we made it so, for the most part, over the span of a few turns in the game, there's a maximum of 4 hearts that can be generated on the board, and then they stop, so there's no grinding for more hearts after that. And until there's 4 of them there, they become something that actually makes the game more difficult as you play, because they're essentially dead tiles to you. And I thought that was super interesting, and I thought it worked really well, so we kept that part in, and we allowed it. So, at best you could heal 1/2 of a heart if you really want to grind it, but for the most part. And we might even edit that if it turns out that people are feeling like trying to grind is the optimal thing. How cool and secret is the final location? It's secret enough for me to not talk about it. I think the final area of the game is neat. I think it's kind of obvious. And we'll get people talking. What came first, the idea to make Bumbo a game or the Bumbo item? Also, why is Isaac in this game Maggie and Judas in the wooden nickel? How does he know Bumbo? Okay, so first, James and I made this hobo game. We didn't make the game. I sketched down an idea for a game much like Bumbo, where you're a bum and you've got a bag or a barrel of trash in front of you, and you put like cans and you match cans and stuff and whatever else to like make projectiles to throw at other bums that are trying to get in on your trash. And then you save up your coins and you go buy booze. They were all marionette puppets in the sketches. So it was a pretty unique idea, and I thought it was really fun. And around that same time was when Bumbo, the item, had been out, and people were making memes and stuff about him. And I really liked all of the bum characters in the game. Bum friends. So they were all Bumbos. They're one of my favorite designs. And I thought, why not? It was actually somebody I worked with in the past who semi-sarcastically said that you could put the Isaac IP on anything and make a successful game. And I laughed and thought it was funny. But then I instantly thought, like, well, if I did do that, what would it look like? What would an Isaac version of this look like? Because I remember way back in the day, even when I was just working with Florian on Isaac, we talked about doing a turn-based version of Isaac, something more strategic. And I just kind of pushed it aside. But yeah, I explored the idea, and then I came up with an idea of a prequel, of some things that I wanted to explore that came before the Binding of Isaac, and use this as a way to tell that story. And much like Four Souls, I wanted to make a game that complemented the designs in Isaac, but wasn't the same game. And I think you'll totally see that when you play it. Why is Isaac in this game Maggie and Judas in the wooden? So that's not Isaac. Those are just Bumbos that are dressed up like other people. And you'll find out more when you play. The game's connection will make perfect sense once you beat the final area. So if people are streaming you and you really want to be spoiled, that's the place to go. I don't know how that's going to work. People are going to start streaming tomorrow at 10. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but at this point I don't care. I just want people to see how the game plays, because that's what is going to sell the game, is the gameplay. And there could be people that go hardcore and totally run through the game, no problem, and spoil everything. It's up to you if you want to watch that or not, and watch it yourself, but I don't care either way. Okay. Will Repentance be ported to Switch and other consoles by Nicholas, or do you plan to go with the same company who will port Bumbo to consoles? Okay, so the Isaac IP is under license by Nicholas. That can't change. That's set in stone. So they will be working on anything and everything that revolves around Repentance for the foreseeable future. It's not to say that, you know, people have issues with Nicholas, people have issues with Tyrone. The people there are actually really good people, and I think they're going to try their best, especially after being pushed in the spotlight in the negative way, to make sure that whatever we do with Repentance in the future will be received better than other stuff. At least I hope so. And I mean, only time will tell. When it comes to, I don't have a company yet that I'm going with for Bumbo. I'm still trying to figure out what is best, and I have been too busy to figure that out myself. So once we release, I'm going to explore that. You know, if it does well, then I'll have more of a bargaining chip either way. But don't expect a port anytime soon. It's going to be exclusive to PC for quite a while. The next thing will probably be phones. And I think mostly that'll be iOS. Is the mega secret boss for Bumbo like Mega Satan? How awesome is it? I don't know. It's fitting. The final boss of the game is fitting. It's a pretty epic fight. It's difficult. It's the hardest boss fight, obviously, in the game. And that's that. How old is Bumbo supposed to be? And since he shares Dad's voice actor, is he related to Dad in any way? How old is Bumbo? I don't know. I don't even know what Bumbo is. You know, I have no fucking clue. And you'll find you'll be just as confused as I am at the end. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you for that one. Any particular board games as inspiration for Bumbo? The closest thing would be Magic. The game is a draft game, which means that as you go through the game, you'll get choices between different items, and you draft the item that's most appropriate for your build, which was something I was trying to do with Isaac, but it was a lot more random. You didn't have much of a choice. And if we do a sequel, I would probably be pushing that harder and making it so all items are on the same power level, and you draft them. So it would make it easier for you to be like, I've got a tanky build, I'm just going to take tanky things, as opposed to just fully random, have no control over it. With Bumbo, you have a lot of control, and you can build your character in a more specific way, especially when it comes to mana cost, as well as different effects, or you have combo items and stuff like that. And Magic Draft did definitely inspire that, as well as other games like Plants vs. Zombies and Slay the Spire, and I guess Dicey Dungeons to some degree. Rather than looking for another studio to fill the void left by Nicholas, have you considered founding your own studio to take up the task of maintaining your IPs and developing games like The Binding of Isaac 2 from start to finish, as well as publishing physical releases? I really do not like interacting with larger companies. And I really don't want to also be responsible for other people's futures. I'm not the kind of guy who it would stress me out. Like it's difficult enough working with one person and feeling responsible for them financially. And it would just keep me up at night, feeling like, I would have to keep making games that keep making money. I would start taking less risks, and I don't want to do that. So I have no real interest in founding my own studio that has multiple people that will deal with stuff for me. That said, for the foreseeable future, for the most part, much like Bumbo, I will be developing my games, with myself and probably one other person, and then contracting out musicians and extra artists. And when it comes to ports, I probably will still always look to somebody else, and that's basically it. Unless suddenly, like, Tyler is like, I really want to develop the games myself for console. When I worked with Tommy, he really was into that sort of thing. He really liked that, the more tech, less design side of game development. So he was all about it. It's like, let's save us some money, I'll do the port. So he did that sort of stuff too, but he's one of few developers that I've worked with. He's probably the only one that I've ever worked with that was eager to work on ports. But that's what he did for a living before we started working together. How far can Bumbo fly if he's thrown like a dart? It depends on how strong the person throwing him is. Is Delirium eligible to run a deli? Am I reading these words right? I don't know. How does Famine Blue Baby keep their teeth clean? Well, Famine has terrible teeth, so they don't. The answer is they don't keep their teeth clean. How did Loaf get really large? He never went to the bathroom. He just saved it up. In fact, that's why when you hit him, poop comes out. If Bumbo's not going to be on Mac, would Repentance not be on Mac as well? I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that a lot of developers are going to lean away from Mac right now. It's not worth working on, and there's not that many people that are exclusive to Mac. A lot of people that play games on Mac usually will just boot to PC. It's a pain in the butt. So I would say probably not going to be on Mac. High probability of not. How would you rank the bosses in Bumbo by taste? The final boss tastes probably the worst. Who tastes the best? I think the Shy Gals taste the best. And that's as much as I'm going to rank those. How is Bumbo the item from Rebirth related? How is Bumbo the item from Rebirth related to The Legend of Bumbo? Is it Bumbo the Brave? So originally, in the original design, there was another Bumbo, and he was a tank, and that was the Bumbo from The Binding of Isaac. So he looked more oafish, he had a big hunchback, and everything else like that. But the design for him wasn't fun at all, and nothing else fit to his character. So I cut him really early on, and I liked Bumbo the Brave is a hybrid of Bumfriend and Bumbo from the game. So he's got the eyebrow, he looks more oafish, but he's not super gnarled and deformed. So it's kind of the middle ground, Bumbo. But there's nothing to say that if I figure something out in the future, then I could probably come up with some design for Bumbo the... What would he be? Bumbo the Brute. In the past, you've mentioned you're unhappy with the randomness of Isaac. That the randomness of Isaac falls off towards the end of the game, with the player knowing what the final boss they will encounter will be with no surprises. Have you ever considered adding variants to these endgame bosses that are thematically the same but slightly different? Yeah, I talked about this. We're still in development, so there is a chance that we could put more. At the very least, I would really like to have alternate versions, just simple alternate versions of the same bosses, more of them, so it does feel like there's more to be surprised about. Does that make sense? There's more surprises to it. But at this point, I don't think a rework of the story bosses would make much sense. What are your expectations for the Isaac franchise in the future? I don't care as much. I know you guys really like playing it. You guys are going to really like Repentance, and I think you're going to like Bumbo a lot. But like I said, it's almost everything that I plan on working on for the next few years will have some connection to Isaac. But it's not like Isaac will be in the game or be a main character or whatever else. But I have a feeling you'll enjoy how Eugenics and Isaac are connected. I don't have much expectations at all. I just want to make cool shit, and I hope you like it. And that's usually the way it works with everything I'm working on. What I'm really looking forward to and what my expectations are in the future in general are not having to worry too much about how much the game is going to make, and more just taking bigger risks and doing crazier things. What are you and James most proud of looking back at making Bumbo? Let's see if I can try to speak for James. I think James is just proud of what he's done. I mean, he basically is doing the work of multiple people. Like, he's the programmer, he's the 3D artist, and he's doing a majority of the heavy lifting. And he's really worked himself to the bone, and I think in the end he's going to be extremely, I can say he already is. He's said multiple times in calls, especially even today, that he's extremely proud of the game. The game is very good, and the game is looking better and better as literally the hours go by towards release. For me, I'm most proud of my design. Going in on paper, I was confident that the design would work, but getting all the moving parts together took years. It literally took years to try to get it where we could test it and start tuning it. And I just really tried my best to believe in my ability and trust my vision and just double down on it. And I'm very proud of how it came out. I think that this is one of the most unique strategic games that I've seen. It looks super simplistic, but there's an incredible amount of depth going on. And I think that's super neat. And it's super replayable. Like, super, super replayable, even outside of unlocking everything. Is there anything you regret adding to the Binding of Isaacs? I already answered that. Since the Legend of Bumbo... Blah, 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 let me get some water. Since The Legend of Bumbo is a prequel to The Binding of Isaac, does it also have a lot of religious themes? It has barely any. There's a reason for that. And you'll find out why. For the most part. This game is not focused on the religious aspect. The Binding of Isaac was focused on the effects that hardcore religion and organized religion in general might have on a child who doesn't fit into being normal, and may think of himself as being born wrong or being an outcast and bad in general. This Bumbo does not explore those themes at all, and I can't talk about what themes it explores without spoiling everything, but eventually I will. Who's my favorite character? My favorite character is still Bumbo the Weird, but Bumbo the Nimble, I think, is everybody else's favorite character. I thought Bumbo the Weird was going to be everybody's favorite character, because there's a mechanic in Magic called Storm, which is this super dirtily weird mechanic which rewards you for doing as much as you possibly can in a turn. And the more you do, the bigger the effect. And that's the design basis for Bumbo the Weird. He's a character that you want to clear a room in one turn, because the more you do in that turn, the more things are going to chain together. And I love that. Like, he's a character that you can clear rooms in 1 or 2 turns in, and if you don't, you're dead. And that's the way it goes, and that's why I love that character. But Bumbo the Nimble seems to be one that people are really focusing on. I know that's Danielle's favorite character and the one that she's been playing with a lot of, and he's really cool too. He's definitely the most mathy character of all of them. You're gonna You're going to be thinking ahead multiple steps when it comes to your mana situation. What's your favorite Isaac item? Which one was the most fun to design and program? I don't know what program-wise because I didn't program it. But my favorite Isaac item is Bob's Brain. And I like it because it is considered a bad item, but is actually really good. It's a very risky item. And I think those are fun. I know that not everybody likes these type of items. But I like weird items that make runs interesting. I think they're good for streams. I think they're good for the game. I want to put more of them in. I know you guys don't like them and people want to play optimally, which is good because Legend of Bumbo is all about playing optimally, and hopefully those people will dig it. But when it comes to Isaac, I like a fun run where you die, or maybe you just barely make it through. A lot more than watch me get OP and walk through the game like it's nothing. Will your remain focus be after Repentance and Bumbo are released? So once Bumbo is released, I'm going to take a little break. I want to focus back on family stuff. I want to get out to the beach. It's sea glass season at this point, and I'm an old person. I'm going to be 40 in March, so I collect sea glass with my wife. I enjoy that a lot. It's very relaxing. So I'm going to play some D&D. I'm going to watch some movies and focus on family stuff for a while. And then once I feel like I've recharged, I'm going to, of course, jump back into Repentance, make sure that everything's moving smoothly and I'm being attentive to their needs. And I will start working on Mugenics again with Tyler. Mugenics has actually been in development on and off for the past year. Tyler has been doing all of the engine work, and a lot of it is actually finished. He's just waiting for me to have time to work on it. So Mugenics will be the next big project that I work on. And I do have a project that's essentially finished that I would like to release at some point early next year. May do a Kickstarter for it, so be on the lookout for that. We're going to do a Gish anniversary mini documentary and update to Gish with, of course, a sale, which might happen in December, if not January. And we might do a retail version of that as well. And I might do something for Souls related, like maybe late next year. And that's what's on the plate for me. Is Bumbo made of cardboard because he's one of the toys Isaac plays with before getting taken away and leading to the events of the Binding of Isaac? Well, that would be pretty cool. But there's a reason, of course, for the cardboard aesthetic. It's not just there like Paper Mario. The reason why the cardboard stuff is there is because that's one of the elements of James and I's childhood that we shared. We both made a lot of arts and crafts stuff, lots of ways to like avoid the harsh reality of this bad situations that we were in as kids. We'd escape into, our creative worlds, and both of us drew on a lot on boxes. It was a strange thing that we both had in common, and we both had experiences with printer paper. And I drew a lot on, dot matrix printer paper with the like pull off little tab things on the side, do little animations with them. And boxes have always been a theme in my game, so it seems pretty appropriate. Like if you look through, like the Get in the Box theme kind of runs throughout. And so it seemed appropriate, and that's why everything's cardboard. This seems to be one of your first games that is slower paced strategy as opposed to the usual fast action games. Now that you've made this, do you enjoy making these types of games with puzzly, thinky games, and will you do more of these games in the future? So Four Souls is a puzzly type thinky game, but not as much as this. I would say no. Making puzzle games and strategy games is really hard. This has been the hardest design that I've ever done, and platformers are so easy. They're so easy to do. They can be done really fast. They take very little effort overall. What goes into it is usually unique, creative design work, and that's what makes them stand out. And that's not hard for me to do. It's just, I'm super familiar with that stuff, and I've been doing it forever. And when it comes to Isaac, it was a unique design. It wasn't hard to come up with, and it's just cram it full of content, which is also easy. But with this, it was uncharted territory completely. And I went in because I wanted to challenge myself as a designer, because I'd never made something like this. And it was difficult, by far the most difficult nut to crack of all of my designs. But I'm super happy with it. But I definitely don't think I'll make another one like this for quite a while. I think I'd like to go back to action and fun goofiness. Like Mugenics will probably be more of an action brawlery type game with minor strategy, but not rigid turn-based sort of stuff. It's hard to balance that sort of stuff. Would you ever consider writing or having a book written on creation, growth, and ultimate success of Isaac? Well, I definitely wouldn't write it. I've been approached by actually these guys. Derek, you wrote this for Spelunky, and I was approached to do one for Isaac. But it's not my wheelhouse, for sure. Writing is not my strength, technically speaking. So it's not fun for me to write. And I don't know. If I did something like that with Isaac, what I would like to do would be like whoa, my throat is all fucked up. A giant art book. Something with like tons and tons of art, like they do with like Legend of Zelda and Mario and stuff, that shows like all the sprites and maybe some little mini origin stories and fun facts along the way, as well as sketches, original sketches and stuff like that. I think that would be more entertaining. When it comes to just creation and growth stuff, I think that would probably be more appropriate if somebody ever wanted to do a mini doc where they ask me questions and I can just answer them. I think that's more fun than a book. Is there a post-it note in Bumbo similar to the one in Isaac? Yeah, there are. Each of the characters, when you get to a certain point in the game, they start gaining coin icons, and the coin icons that pop up next to them show where you are in the game, that are kind of like post-it notes. What's your least favorite Binding of Isaac boss? Mom's heart? Probably. This question veers more towards the design than gameplay. How many different sprites are there? Which underwent the most change throughout development? How long did the cardboard cutout diorama take to make? I don't know. I can't keep track of how many. There are a lot of sprites. So each enemy in the game has like 6 states. And those all had to be drawn and modeled and animated. Same thing with a lot of the characters in the game. It's hard to say how many sprites there actually are, but James would probably have a number. What underwent the most changes throughout development? Graphically? Boring stuff. The items themselves, when you pick them up, you guys will probably see today there's a big change in that as well. Now items actually do say their names. A lot of you commented and said that you would like to know what the names of all the items are. I thought it would be fun to not have that in. You guys want it in, we put it in, even though it took quite a lot of time. So the actual item icon sprites, they went through a few revisions, and the HUD went through a lot of different revisions to try to get everything in there and convey everything correctly. The latest build changes movement to be more universal. So the universal icon for movement is now the foot, and the universal color for movement is yellow. And There are 3 different icons for movement. No one really noticed, but I did. There was a clock, there was a foot, and there was a lightning bolt. So now it's a foot universally. And there were 3 different colors for movement as well. There were white, there was yellow, and there was green. And now it's just yellow. So it's tied to like the P color. I hope it makes a lot more sense when people are actually playing it. Little stuff like that usually gets edited a bunch just to make sure it's as user-friendly as possible. I found it interesting to see a little bump behind Bumbo the Brave's head. Really looking forward to playing the game. Thank you. I'm looking forward to you playing the game as well. Yeah, the little bump behind his head was just to make him look a little more Bumbo-y. With the Binding of Isaac game going through so many changes since release, can we possibly get a version select mode in the upcoming expansion? I don't know how that works technically, so I can't really answer this. But I believe that Repentance will have the most universal appeal when it comes to the balances and the way the system works. We'll see though. I mean, if it's something you guys really want and Vin and I think that it's appropriate, then we can always explore it. What was the design intention of Breath of Life item? I can never figure out how to use it. The intention was you hold your breath and then you run into something that would damage you and give you a reward, and it wouldn't damage you. That's what its intention was. It was to abuse that aspect of it. Maybe I didn't do that well enough. That's what it was. Back in the day, like when I was designing those things, sometimes I would design an item because I would assume that someone would be able to break the game with it. That was one of the items that I thought they would, and it turns out it wasn't. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but I was trying to do something that I didn't succeed in doing. I know Bumbo's coming out, but do you have any idea on the release date for Isaac Repentance? Even the season of release? No, I don't. I mean, I thought it was going to come out this year. I thought Bumbo was going to come out last year. Shows what I fucking know. With Repentance, if we wanted to rush it and get it done, we could probably have it done in the next 3 or 4 months. And it might get done in 3 or 4 months. But I want to be as careful as possible with it since it's the last release. And it's really special, and I think you guys will know that the time is worth it for the most part. There are quite a few elements of the game that aren't implemented yet. A lot of my design that is super important and will have a lot of appeal, and we haven't added it or tested it yet. So I would say that there's still about 30% of the game missing, and I want to allow as much time as possible to comfortably add those things without putting any more unneeded stress on Vin and Nick and Sagittarius. What are your hopes for The Legend of Bumbo and Repentance post-launch? What are my hopes for? I hope everybody plays them. Everybody loves them. I hope they're very well received. And that's it. Is the events in Bumbo a story made up by Isaac as he plays? Maybe. Sure. That sounds fun to me. Will Bumbo have secret floors for doing special things a la Isaac? No, there are no secret floors. Don't dig around. Don't try to skip the last floor. There's nothing there. Are touch controls planned for Switch? Originally, that's all they were going to be, but then people were like, you can't do that! Give controller support! So I would say, I assume that yes, and I assume that there will also be controller support. A long time ago, you mentioned a boss based off a monster in Ether that was fully designed but never implemented. Do you have any plans to implement this in the future? The fuck was that? A monster from Ether? Oh, the monster from Ether. It was, okay, I don't know when that was said, but that definitely was never fully designed. I think it was going to be, I thought about it, I think I might have sketched it down on paper. I had cameo bosses. Those were Steven, Chad, Triachnid, and eventually the Viscerin sisters. And those are cameo bosses from different games. And the one that I wanted to put in was the Ether Monster, but it did not fit the aesthetic of the game, so I didn't do it. I didn't design it. I mean, I had some sketches, but it was never actually remotely implemented. Will I implement it in the future? I don't think so. It won't look right. Is there a chance that there'll be a physical collector's edition of Bumbo for PC at some point? I don't see why not. If you guys want to buy it, then I'm sure we will make it. Everybody wants to do physical editions for console. That was one of the bumps in the road we want to do a physical edition for Gish, but we can only do, PC release essentially. And we've heard that sales for boxed editions for PC don't sell as well as like Switch and PlayStation and stuff like that. So, who knows? Are there any plans to further Isaac's franchise lore? There's going to be a lot of lore in Bumbo. It'll answer some questions. It'll give you a different perspective on a few things. Paint a different picture of the Binding of Isaac. And Repentance will kind of close the book, answer some questions, raise some more questions. But I'm less a fan of story and more on character development and theme, and just trying to make an immersive world that feels more alive. So I'm trying to paint a picture here, not so much an instruction booklet. And so that's why a lot of the cutscenes and stuff are more abstract. So of course you're going to get more. You're gonna get a better perspective on a few things with both games. And I think after that it's kind of done, because he does die. There's only so much that we can do here. For Isaac, have you thought about adding champions versions of final bosses? We just talked about that, and I did. I do. Will there be DLC or booster packs for Legend of Bumbo? Like I mentioned before, if the game sells really well and you guys really are playing it a lot, and I see people asking for more content, I don't see why we couldn't do a little update. And if that goes over well, I don't see why we couldn't eventually do a paid DLC. But I'm not gonna cross that bridge until I know. How come flush spacebar item instantly kills poop-based bosses except for turtlings? Well, that sounds like a bug. So somebody's fault. Somebody's fault that's not mine. Blame Tyrone. He's easy to blame at this point. Will there be any other familiars in Legend of Bumbo? Perhaps even playable characters? No. So that actually re-answers one of the earlier questions. There were familiars in Bumbo. They were cats. That was cut early on because it seemed like we could just make them items, and I might add them in the future, but they kind of act as familiars that do something every turn, something specific, and they were little cat paws that came out and cast a spell or whatever else, and they're not in the game right now. So that's something that we did kind of cut that was half developed that I could explore in the future. Will there be new special passive items like Godhead Brimstone and the D6? Are you talking about Bumbo or Repentance? I'll answer both. There are some really, really good passive items in Bumbo. And when it comes to Repentance, if you played Anti-Birth, you probably know the best items of the bunch. And we haven't gotten that far in development where we're planning ahead of like what are some really cool items we could do for final unlockables and stuff. So I can't answer that question. We're planning on adding Steam cards and badges for Bumbo. Not currently, no. I made him for the end is 9. I'm not sure how much it actually does, and I don't want to waste any time, especially with the crunch that we're under. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay. You mentioned the possibility of DLC. Of a DLC is if things went well sales wise. What would you want to add more of in a DLC? Do you regret not adding something in the original release? Like I said, my only regret for original release, which I'm hoping gets in the original release, is just as much polish as possible. And that's just kind of one of those things that we're going to do as much as we can. And then I assume that when we do some bug updates and stuff like that, we'll end up adding anything that feels like it's missing, mostly like sound effects and stuff like that. Those are the things that I would like to have added more of earlier. When it comes to DLC, just what you would assume: more bosses, alternate paths, more enemies, more unique enemy abilities, more unique item abilities, and a few playable characters that play very differently than the other characters. What's your favorite kind of pizza? I don't eat pizza anymore. I'm allergic to the cheese, and I'm allergic to the bread for the most part. I found that out recently. I've always been allergic to the cheese. I still ate it and just dealt with what happened the next day. My favorite kind of pizza was pesto and pineapple pizza with chicken. It's really good. You should try it. Will I adopt you? No. That's weird, right? How old are you? Bumbo's looking amazing. Seriously pumped. I know match 3 or match 4 in this case is a genre a lot of people feel strongly opposed to. What is your inspiration for pursuing something in this genre? And it is my first puzzle game like this. Quite honestly, I saw Bejeweled and other games like it, and I am the type of person who sees a genre that people don't like and sees some flawed aspect and tries. Basically, I wanted to make a version of Bejeweled that I would really like. And if I really like it, I assume that a lot of other people will like it too. And that's basically what I went in. I was like, I remember watching Danielle play Bejeweled. She used to play Bejeweled a lot, and think to myself, there's just so much of this is like a scam. So much of it's a scam. So much of it is you do a move and then a bunch of random stuff happens and then you feel like you did that, and they're making you feel that way. Which is fine. There's a lot of games out there that are kind of time wasters like that just let you remove yourself from reality and zone out and just go to town. But I don't like those type of games. So I was trying to think, could I turn that system into something that wasn't just random, but more of a rigid strategic system, kind of like they didn't really do that. Puzzle Quest explored it a bit, but there was still a bunch of chaining, a bunch of random stuff. But I wanted to attempt to explore deep strategy within a genre that people didn't really like and that they didn't feel could be utilized to make something interesting in this way. This is the challenge I'm going with. Much like Isaac, when it's like, I remember trying to sell a game. It's like Legend of Zelda, except when you die, all your items are removed and you get to play again. It's like, how is that appealing? It's not appealing in any way. Trying to explain to people that the fun is in playing it again was a very difficult sell, and a lot of people wrote it off as why would you want to play a worse version of the Legend of Zelda where you lost all your items when you died? And with this, it's the same uphill battle for me. And I think this is the major hurdle to get over is how do I explain to people that it looks like, a match game, and it is, but it's not what people would expect. And it's more of, I think it has more in common with something like Advanced Wars than something like Bejeweled when it comes to gameplay. Hope that answered the question. Have you considered giving mini bosses intros like typical monster bosses? And if so, why did you decide against it? I didn't, mostly probably because originally time constraints. I was just trying to get the original Isaac out within the couple months that we worked on it. Mini bosses are an actual thing that I would like to re-explore. I feel like they're pretty lackluster. They're not too hard. They're pretty basic. And I think they could use an expansion, but I don't even know if it would be appropriate for this. It would be kind of like a sequel situation where it's like, how could we re-explore mini bosses in a fun way that makes them more like mini bosses and less like the power of two enemies or a champion enemy. How has being a father changed the way you make games, if at all? So those of you who don't know, I have a daughter. She's 4 now. Her name is Peach. She's amazing, and she's very hard to deal with at times. And having her has changed the way I make games a lot. Those who know me probably know that I tend to work a lot. And the big change with that is I needed to take myself out of work because I have something more important to work on, which is family. So balancing family and work has been the new challenge, which I believe that I've been able to do at this point. It sucks today. Like, it sucks to be completely away from them for the past couple weeks. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with them more once this is done. But I guess it's made me realize how this stuff doesn't matter that much in the big scheme of things, and that, focusing on my family and my family being more important and more rewarding for the most part. It's let me see that a bit better. So I try my best to. I'm a terrible person if I'm not being creative, so I have to be creative in some way. So I'm gonna always have to work on something, but I have to have some restraint when it comes to how much I work, and hire other people to help me in some ways. And that's what has changed. Would you ever consider adding an enemy to Isaac or Bumbo based on one of Peach's drawings? She draws some wacky shit. I wouldn't doubt it. Like, if I ever dive back into Ether or Ether 2, which something me and Tyler explored for a while once, I probably would poach some stuff from Peach's drawings. I might get a tattoo of one of her drawings. She does some weird, like, faces upon faces. Like, she'll make a bunch of, like, weird shapes and then make sure every little space gets a face in some weird way. So it's pretty cool. Do I have a full collection of foil cards from Four Souls? I have a full collection of the expansion foil cards. I have a few of them, actually. I have them to give out for contests as well as my own. But the other cards have never been printed in foil. Will the game contain unlockable characters and areas? There are over 4 unlockable characters. Or I guess I should say there are over 4 characters. Most of them unlockable. And there's an unlockable area. I could say that. There are other things to unlock as well. There's lots of unlockable items, unlockable cutscenes. There's quite a few cutscenes in the game. Was the mana system inspired by Magic the Gathering? Of course. What isn't, really? It's probably almost all my games are inspired by Magic in some way. It's the one game that I've been playing for. I played Magic when it started in 93, and I played it until 98, I think, when Ice Age came out, and I stopped playing. And then I started playing again like 7 years later when Ravnica started, and I started drafting, and I realized that drafting was amazing. And I have been playing since then. A lot. Will there be Bumbo items in Repentance? I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. There are also some references to other Bumbo things you'll see. Do Bumbo Litecoin? Yes. Someone says something about put a warning before the stream, as seems that people are getting their Google accounts banned during the stream for too many emotes. So guys, don't do a bunch of emotes in stream. You might get banned. Should have voted that up to the top. Are you kind of tired of the Isaac universe after spending quite a few years on it? Not completely, quite honestly. It's done. I think it's done, especially after Repentance. It's finished. But there was a lot to say with Isaac, with the Isaac IP, with Bumbo, with the DLCs. There was a lot to explore. It was really fun. It's not that I'm tired of it, but it's that, like, what do I want to be? I don't want to be a one-trick pony, and that was why I made The Binding of Isaac, because I didn't want people to be like, oh, all this guy can make is a platformer. he's the Meat Boy guy, and that's it. So I made Isaac. And now, even though I've released Fingered and The End Is Nigh and Four Souls and Bumbo, I think for the most part people just still see me as the Isaac guy, the Binding of Isaac guy. And I'm not going to grow as a designer if I keep playing it safe and working within my little IPs for the most part. So I want to work on other things other than Isaac, even though it's fun to expand upon. Breaking Isaac is always a treat to the players. But is that intended by designer? Unfortunate byproduct. It is intended. And me and Vin have argued back and forth on this. If I just know that there's a select group of people out there who like breaking, and it's fun, and it's a mechanic I learned is fun through Magic. Redundant infinite combos, like if you can do that. So if I did a full redesign, and this may be a mistake, but if I did a full redesign of Isaac and I made Isaac 2, I probably would lean away from breaking the game and go back to making more of a intentional experience that doesn't break the fourth wall in that way, where you find some way to break the inside of the game apart. And that may actually upset players and turn people away from the sequel, but that's that. What do you think? Did I miss one? Will criticals make a bloody splash? We're reworking criticals for Bumbo right now. We're punching them up. That's one of the polish lists. Currently, they just make a big pentagram when they get hit, but they're going to actually light up the room with like a big red flash. And then Bumbo's going to... One of the things that wasn't in the builds is there's a lot of voiceover work that Matthias did for Bumbo that wasn't in. So Bumbo will comment on different things and laugh and whatever else. So there'll be a red flash, I think, punch up the pentagram. Bumbo will make a noise, and we might do more gore. That kind of, particles might spray out. What do you think is the scariest Isaac boss? I think visually, the bloat is the most disturbing. I think that one's pretty gross in a scary way. In Bumbo, there's a Bumbo called Dusk, which is the scariest. Scary boss. Will we ever know the full story in the Isaac universe when you're satisfied with all the games in it? I mean, you guys know the full story for the most part, and you're going to get another piece of the story that came before in Bumbo, and then you probably will get a little piece at the end with Repentance. But you guys know the story. I don't think it's that ambiguous anymore. How much can enemies interact with the board, like adding curses, shuffling the board, etc.? Can enemies put status effects on you? Okay, I'll answer those. Enemies in the first chapter don't do much. In the second and third chapter and beyond, they start doing wacky shit to you. There's an effect called Doomed, which turns off one of your spells. They can mana drain you. They can curse you, and a few other things. They can remove your moves. So yes, and they can shuffle the board. Do trinkets stack if you have the same one? Yes, they do, and you can get the same one. And there's other ways to. There are trinkets and spells that do double trinkets and stuff like that. So there's a lot of weird stuff to help you abuse trinket buffs. What's Bumbo's favorite Pokemon? Well, if he's anything like me, I'd say probably Coughing. It's probably something stupid like Ball Toy. He's not the smartest. What is your biggest inspiration in the Binding of Isaac that you haven't... Wait, what is your biggest inspiration for the Binding of Isaac that you haven't told us yet? I might have said this before. I drew a lot of inspiration from my own childhood, melded with my father's childhood. And I threw in a little bit of other family members' experiences in the mix, but it's mostly me, with a little sprinkling of my dad. And maybe I haven't said that. Is the Mask of Infamy a reference to anything in particular? Yeah, there's... I don't remember what her name is. There is a boss in Simon's Quest that is a mask that is crying blood. It made a lasting impression on me as a child, so I wanted to do a reference to it. Binding of Isaac has incredible replay value. I spent hundreds of hours on it. Does Bumbo have a similar amount of replay value? Yes, I would say that Bumbo has about the same amount of replay value as the original game, the original Flash game. There's a lot to play. I think Danielle's up to like 48 hours, but you know, there's testing as well. So yeah, definitely over 20 hours, I think, of gameplay if you're just going to rush through the game. I only learned of Bumbo a few days ago. It says it's coming out on iOS. Will that come out on the 12th as well? And are there any differences in terms of gameplay between the versions? No, the iOS version will come out sometime later, probably next year, early. And differences in terms of gameplay would be that there's no mouse overs when you're using a touchscreen. Everything else is essentially the same. Things are slightly more optimized for the phone, so you can see things a little better. When I first found out about The Binding of Isaac, I thought it was on Mac. I was disappointed to learn the expansions weren't coming out for it. Oh, are you saying iOS phones? Because I'm mostly talking about that. You're going to notice, if you're a Mac player, and this goes for all Mac players, you're going to notice a lot of developers are going to stop porting their game because they're not making it easy to do. And they're trying to control more. And they're not supporting a lot of older games, and they keep changing things. Basically, they're upsetting developers, and quite honestly, behind the scenes, like the amount of income generated through Mac purchases has always been low, quite low. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot less support in the future for those. So, but it's pretty easy. If you've got a Mac, you can boot to PC. I highly recommend it. In the past, you mentioned not being thrilled with Afterbirth Plus. Is Repentance an opportunity to fix those shortcomings, or is it all in the past? The booster packs was a way for me to fix the shortcomings of Afterbirth Plus. I think Afterbirth Plus, outside of possibly reworking Delirium a bit more, which it should and will happen, of course, in Repentance, is really good at this point. It just took a little bit to get there. It sucks that it went down the way it did. There were a lot of crazy things that happened during development that took me completely away from development. So Nicholas just had this rough design document that they were working around, and I think originally it was just intended on being mod stuff, like mod DLC. And I wasn't happy with that, so I was like, no, it needs to be this, and this, and here's what you're going to do. And then I kind of handed it off, and I was completely taken away from, a personal tragic event. And I was just completely out and didn't really, that was at the time I didn't feel like I was going to make games anymore. It was bad. And we thought we had a bunch of really good testers, but it turned out that a lot of testers weren't really reporting much. They were like, yeah, it's great, everything's balanced, and everything works great. And I don't know if they were just being yes men because they like the game or what. Something happened with that, though. It wasn't good. And things got fucked up. And all I could do after the release, looking back and seeing people upset about it, was, okay, well, we can try to fix this and rectify this with some free updates, essentially, and especially in the final ones where we put out a character. I think it's great. But yeah, as far as development goes, I'm making sure, trying my to the best of my ability to be involved as I possibly can in Repentance development, and make sure nothing goes wrong. But also, I really trust those guys too, and I don't think they're gonna fuck it up. So, tell us more about the soundtrack. What directions you gave to the Ridiculon guys, and in what way In what ways you intend the new soundtrack to be distinguished from Isaac in terms of mood and themes and all that stuff? Was music written from 2 or 3 years ago or a few months prior to release? The music was released over time, about a year and a half ago. Maybe some a little bit before that. The goal was to make it sound like a marching tune, like all the tracks feel like you're marching forward into battle, not too hyped up and intense, but more of a steady pace. They have some echo of Isaac. I want them to feel like precursors to stuff that would eventually happen in Isaac musically. Outside of that, it was just kind of like make it sound Isaac-y, make it not be too intense, too fast tempo, and more moody. And I got to do more fun stuff with, I don't know if you can hear in the background now, there's a remix of the title track where Carla Kilstead is singing, and Carla Kilstead is the voice of Mom. So it's the Isaac lullaby, which I thought was really neat. There's a lot of neat little nods in the soundtrack, and I think you guys will really like the credits track as well. Will there be more poop in The Legend of Bumbo? I think The Legend of Bumbo takes the cake as far as the most poop. Possibly, maybe the most poop in any game. Call Guinness and see if we broke the record for most poop in a video game, because there's a lot of it. Gotta have the poop. Okay. Will there be more post-DLC booster pack stuff? I assume you're talking about Repentance. I don't know. I don't think so. I was wondering, is there going to be DLC for Bumbo? I already answered. I'm going to just start skimming these, and if I've answered them, I'm not going to read them. Have I heard of Indie Pogo? I think so. Is it like the Smash Brothers type indie game? I think they asked about using like Dr. Fetus or something. I could be wrong. Could be a different game. But I don't have any control over that anymore. Sure, Isaac and Bumbo, probably. Just tell them to contact me. Edmund, are you a soy boy? I'm not. I'm not a soy boy. In fact, I don't eat soy. I was told by my doctor to not eat so much soy, and I'm mildly allergic to it either way. So no. What's the opposite of a soy boy? Sausage man? I'm a meat boy. How will Bumbo and the Four Souls affect the future of Binding of Isaac games and expansions? How will Bumbo and Four Souls affect the future? I don't know. I don't know. Which coin is Bumbo's favorite? In which currency? He likes pennies in American currency. I just realized Steven doesn't look very PC. I've been told. But it's a really cool design for a character. I like the way it looks, but people have pointed out that it looks questionable, but those weren't my intentions. If Bumbo is a prequel, is Bumbo Isaac's dad? I don't see why you guys think that a little no-legged childlike thing is somehow helped had sex with Isaac's mom, and he just like climbed all over her, and eventually Isaac was born. No. No. Can I get soy milk in this game? There is no soy milk in this game. Are there many Easter eggs? There are some. Why do you specifically decide to make a game on Bumbo? I have explained. Why did you decide to work with a team size that you choose and not a bigger or smaller dev team? It couldn't get much smaller than 2 people outside of just me programming, and that would suck. This is why I choose. I choose to work with me and another person because I know that my vision of the game will come through really clearly and won't be watered down or pushed back by anyone else. There's a game of telephone that goes into a company where you're trying to explain to a bunch of different people what you want, and then they do it. Sometimes it looks better, but the heart of what's going on sometimes isn't as clear. There's downsides to it too. It's easier for the person who's in control to make mistakes, etc., etc. I work with a small team. Number one reason why I think, though, honestly, is because the bigger the team, the higher the probability of somebody fucking it up. And I've worked with a lot of people who have fucked it up, and I don't want that to happen. So I try to work with somebody that I can trust closely, and don't put a lot of weight on anybody that I'm working with contract wise when it comes to that I'll need them every day to the end. I've just worked with too many people that could no longer work or had complete mental breakdowns, or there's just you run the risk of things falling apart. And I also don't really want to have to fund a whole team of people. And like I said before, I don't want to be responsible for the livelihood of others when I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing, Will repentance change the challenges that need to overcome in a certain amount of time, like hush, boss, rush, blah, blah, blah? I don't think so. What? Can Judas say the N-word? Can Dark Judas say the N-word? Anybody can say it. It's all about who hears it and the context of how they say it. But I have a feeling that Judas and Dark Judas don't even know what the N-word was. I didn't know what the N-word was until I was like 7 or 8, and I had to ask my mom what it was. And she said, "You don't say that word." And I said, "Well, why did Dusty say it?" And she's like, "Well, because he went to prison and they weren't nice to him there." And I'm like, okay. And then I didn't say it. That's my N-word story. Are any items in Isaac's or are any items in Isaac Bumbo references? Wait, are any items in Isaac or Bumbo references to canceled projects or projects that never got made? I don't think so. It's hard to remember. I've not made a lot of things. The latest Binding of Isaac expansion coming to Switch. I sure hope so, but who knows? Remember I'm the guy who asked if the poison burning debuffs in Isaac were reworked in Repentance. Are you still considering it? It might have actually gotten fixed. Is Mom a prostitute? There are a lot of items that you could interpret that being her profession after Dad left. Yeah, there are a lot of items that kind of lean in that direction, and that is an interesting take. It's not something that I will fully ever explore, because how could I? But that would be a logical conclusion, I think. I think there's a lot of allusions to. I allude to Mom being a drug user with pills. She could be a woman of the night. They're very poor. It's very possible. But quite honestly, I never thought much about it until you brought it up. But it seems like it makes sense. I'm at the end of this. I'm at the end! Repentance release date. Man, I really got through this. Oh, I went way over time. Repentance next year. If you were to remake Isaac once more, would you include all the current content? Or would you put it as part of a separate DLC? If I remade Isaac, it would not have a bunch of DLC. Like, my biggest worry when doing a sequel to The Binding of Isaac is that you guys are going to expect the amount of items that are in all the expansions in the remake, and not just within the first game. The first Binding of Isaac had a little over 100 items, period. And that still worked. And that item number grew. If we made a sequel, I would hope that we could get at least 200 items and as much content as we possibly could. But those are my worries too. Like, I'm worried that it will let people down unless it's super huge, because so many people expect so much more. Will there be a set of booster packs for Repentance? Probably not. Why didn't you release it yesterday? Now I have to wait until Friday, until I have more free time to play it. Well, because it's not done. Game's not done yet. And I got to get back to work. Let me do a little bit of a run, or at least a quick run. I got to pee like crazy too. I'm done with your comments. I'm done with your AMA. I finished it. I'm done. And you guys want to play? Oh, I moved the wrong thing. Play some Bumbo real quick. Listen to some sound effects. I'm gonna pump up the volume so you can really hear what's going on. Tell me if it's too loud. All right, here we go. Look, we got exit game. Look at that. That's a new feature. This will kind of this will be reworked. So these are reworked. Bumbo Smash. It's called Bumbo Smash. Bumbo Shake. Bumbo Shake. And here's what they do. And this is what they'll look like when you pick them up in the treasure rooms. The man icons could probably be a little bit bigger, but that's a big change. Took a lot of work. Kudos to James. Killed himself to do it. All for you. Let's play. We'll play with some Brave. Okay, tell me if you guys can hear the sounds. I'll explain some of the other reworks. There's going to be a lot of little bits and bobs here, and I can tell you also what to expect. Biggest change here. Look, there's a next icon now, so people know. Because people ask, "What the fuck is all this up here? What are all these? Why are these there?" Those are the next ones. That's why this is there. Hey, look over here. There's a universal symbol now. It's the foot, and these are now yellow. Outside of the sound effects that you will eventually hear, this is going to get mouse over work done to it. It's going to get a little polish here. But so can you guys hear it okay? I'll just turn it up louder. Okay. So here's some sounds for you. And I should have probably played more often. Oh yeah, the gas has a face. That was a change. You getting all this? Protect ourselves a bit. Do we just take damage here for the sake of, okay, we'll first do this. Yeah. Okay, we'll take damage. It's fine. Here comes the gas. Urgh. God damn it. We can kill him. We'll just protect ourselves a bit from this gas. Yeah. Alright, we'll just booger him. Woo! Woo! There you got to hear some Bumbo sound effects. I mean, it adds a lot. I think it sounds beautiful. All the tile stuff is all Jay Fernandez's work, and then all the vocalizations is all Matthias. Stick and stopwatch. You guys aren't going to see any enemies that move a bunch, so. Let's see. I wish I could intentionally do more item chains because he gets crazier as the combo goes. You'll hear it. You'll hear it. Yeah, the only thing that sucks ass is the fact that there are a few review copies that went out a few days ago, and there's a chance that they were playing with builds that weren't finished and didn't have a bunch of polish, and that kind of sucks, but hopefully they'll review mostly the gameplay. Alright, let's finish this room. I don't know if you could hear it too, but he also laughs depending on like how well you did. There's like a good, satisfying laugh. The characters are all pitched differently too. I don't know for sure if that's in yet. I don't think it is, but and I re-recorded some of the other voices myself. Take care of these guys. I'm gonna kill that guy anyway. Punch his face. I'll turn it up louder. You guys won't be able to hear me. Woo! Alright, we should be able to make short work of this. And if we wanted to gain hearts, we can now. Look at this. Eat it. We got a tank build, motherfuckers. Kind of counterintuitive with Bumbo the Brave because you usually want to be at low health, but we can go full risky with this build. And maybe I'll play past the boss. I'm kind of getting into it. But it sounds so cool. This is for real now. I like to reroll the puzzle board when there are... So there are a lot of yellow tiles. Okay, I'll give it one reroll. There's a high probability. Yeah, well that worked too. But we're one away from... I thought we were... Oh no, because that did it. If we had another reroll, it would be worth it. This asshole. Alright. Keep moving forward. What do I do here? I just want to clear the room. But I don't think I can with this amount of moves. There's no teeth at the bottom. I'm just going to set up the kill for next time. That'll get us to where we need to be. Who should I smash? And it's over. I can't turn my voice up anymore. There's a little visual bug for you that came with the revamp of this. Usable items have a little bit of a visual bug right here, but that'll be fixed in the next update. Should we metronome? Break the game? Yum hearts, where it's at. We're doing full tank. We're tanking. We won't die. There's no way. There's no way to die anymore. Okay. I would like... Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for... teeth. Not teeth. Bones. I'm gonna hit as hard as possible. If I get hit, I'm considering allowing myself to get hit just so I can do more damage. And just using, when I go down a half a heart or whatever, I can just keep filling up with that. That seems to be a good plan of attack. So I'm not going to care about what Pete is doing here. He can hit me, that's fine. I want him to hit me twice. Well, one of these guys did hit me. I don't really care if both of them hit me, quite honestly. I'm going to do a reroll. Did that get us anywhere? Got us here. Take this out of commission. And nobody else. I'd like to take one more damage, please. I've said before that this is kind of the Eve character who wants to take damage. It's a berserker. And I want my damage to go up. So I can just hit him a few times and he's dead. Alright. So as you see, like my puzzle spell, my puzzle damage has gone up 1, and so has my punch. I'm dealing 4 damage now for every punch. So it's all about fueling that. This thing that sucks right with him is that I don't have much in terms of editing the board. I just have this chaos spell, and hopefully early in the next chapter I can get something that will fix that. Rerolling is great, but there's not much strategy in it outside of re-rolling when you have a lot of one tile, which I'm going to do because there's a lot of people on the board. How did that not... we're going to gum up this mofo and enter. It's fine. It's fine if we take damage. It's fine. Either way, we're going to gain. No, we're not going to gain 1 heart yet. If we take 1 more damage, we'll gain 1 heart.
Oh, yeah!
Some more teeth, man. Okay, he's open. I got 1 move. And then they're just gonna get in the fucking way. Anything? Come on, okay, 1 more. Oh, that worked. Yeah, perfect. Full chaos mode. 1 more damage. Can I do 1 more damage? Doesn't look like it. Let's make sure this guy doesn't go anywhere. And so go. Okay. I'm fine taking it. Either way, he's gonna die. He's dead. He's dead. And I should have healed myself. That's the optimal play, but it's fine. I'll get the charge. Do. All right, these are also upgraded. We've got the Devil. It's a temporary +1 damage. Well, it's not temporary. It's a permanent +1 damage once you use it, but it's a usable trinket, which is why this little 1 is here. Pink Eye is really good if you've got something that does multi-attacks. There's a character that you guys haven't seen that does multi-attacks, and Danielle last night had Pink Eye. I think she might have even doubled it. So there was a high probability of poison to all of her attacks, and she just kept decimating rooms because of the high probability of poison. Let's go with the Devil. Alright. This is a bug right here. We're fixing this right now. It always says 13. It's a 13 bug. But I really have more than 13. I'm going to spin the wheel, and we're going to go for the jackpot. That's really good, though. Puzzle damage is fantastic. And then we can't see how much we have here. We can go wacky here. Oh, we can't. We don't have enough. Fuck. How much do we actually have? We don't have anything? No. Looks like we have three coins. And I don't want to spend it on that because that's free. All right, we're not going to get to upgrade anything. And we will go to the Forlorn Hollow. Okay. Are you guys ready for spoilers? Spoilers. I'm gonna spoil the first maybe 1 or 2 rooms. I'm not gonna show the boss. And I'm gonna explain what's going on here. So these are dig-digs. They're whack-a-moles, essentially. And that'll be apparent when I start hitting them. These little greedlings are motherfuckers. Oh, we only had 2 points. They actually have 2 moves. That little vein on the forehead next to his crown, that signifies that they get multiple moves. He should also have one, but there's a visual bug right now preventing that, which I should write down. So these guys get 2 actions, meaning that they will move in prime, and then if they're close to me prime, they're going to hit me and prime again. So they're going to really fuck me up. So you got to take care of these guys first. These guys will also start attacking too. They're a pain in the butt. This room's a pain in the butt. But we're fine. In fact, look. We just healed ourselves. That's how fine we are. Alright, start this going. I'm going to use up my little damage on these guys. I'm going to destroy... I don't remember... This champion might regenerate. So let's stop that from happening. And I want a fucking puzzle spell. Alright, here they go. We've got 3 enemies primed, and this guy's coming back. Hope I don't make a fool of myself on stream. Here they come, the damages. Okay. We'll poop this up. Reroll. Well, all we can do is gum it up. I'll stop him. The other guys aren't primed. We'll focus on that. Right. Here we go. Take care of this guy. We'll smash this guy. And this guy's being blocked by this guy. I think it's time to... How do we want to do this? We don't want to use up... Okay, so we're at max damage now. It's a comfortable place to be. Fucking hell, I didn't drag it all the way up. But we got it back up. There's our heart. High damage teeth don't matter as much. I'm going to set up a big combo for next time. This should be able to kill him. Who cares, right? Who cares if we take damage? We are tanky as fuck. And I did the wrong thing! God damn it! Fucking brain dead. I set up a fucking double combo here and I couldn't do it. Now I gotta do it next turn. Well, that's life. That's life. I'm bad in my own game. Either way, we've done it. Half a heart. And they die. When they all go down, they die. Pinto bean. That would have fucking been nice. Okay, Puzzle Flick. This costs a lot when it's not with Bumbo the Weird. It is still good. It does edit the board. This is more defensive. I want a puzzle spell along with defense. We're gonna need it. Alright. Here we go. Okay, so these blobbies absorb the first attack no matter how much damage it does. It does nothing. It just turns them into their vulnerable state. Which I will do. See, they would have fucking died, but no, of course not. So you don't want to waste your high damage stuff on those guys. These little longets worms, there's no big in front row, so that doesn't matter. They will block attacks, and they mostly just fuck with you. And they're the opposite of these guys, where you want to do as high damage to them as possible because they suck back up into the ceiling and avoid being hit if you hit them once. What do we need to get a heart? We need poop and boogers. Can we get a booger or poop combo at all here? This is where we're gonna die, folks. This is where we're gonna die. I can't see anything. I don't see anything. Here we go. It's bad news. It's bad news. We're gonna defend here. We need a booger. A booger with one move. Okay. We are fucked. We're going to reroll the board. Only I put it over there. Okay, so I killed that guy. Okay, this is it. We are leaning hard on this. One more time, once more with feeling. And I'll do this anyway. That's it, folks. I am dead. 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 I died. I got really cocky. I'm playing a fucking defensive build and I died. I leaned a little too hard on that high damage. And that is the end. So the reason why the game is so hardcore right now is because I have unlocked that difficulty and that's what I'm playing at. I'm playing on hard. And F+. That's that. But that was a pretty good 20 minutes of gameplay. We showed a lot of stuff. We showed a lot of options. I think you guys have been here through the streams now have a really good idea of how infinitely replayable this game can be and how much is going on. We're not even halfway to the end of the game here. It would have been nice. It would have been a fun build, but I fucked it up. And I went wrong in so many different ways. There aren't win-lose streaks yet, but those are planned. They might come out after the game releases. We kind of want to gauge what people really want so we can make sure we can add that stuff. Let me turn the volume down. I've got to get back to work. Do you guys have any quick questions? I'll do 10 minutes of questions from the chat. And then I got to get back to work on the trailer. Please spread the word. Once again, hard sell. You guys see why it's fun. If you see a stream, then you know why it's fun. But if you just see a picture of it or even a trailer, you might not get it. So it's really going to be about word of mouth and all that good stuff. How does it decide on the rating? Spoiler, it's always F+ if you die. There's not much going on there. What are you most excited for in this game? I'm excited to see people play it. Does James do the trailers for this game? James edited together all the current trailers for the game. I did the puppetry and the physical stuff. And the current trailer I'm attempting to do myself, which may be a huge fucking mistake, but James, it's not an option because James is incredibly busy. Linux port, probably. Well, does Unity export to Linux? How many keys did I give out? I think I gave out about 12 or 13 keys to streamers and about 10 plus review codes to reviewers. What are the rules for spawning the tiles? You mean the random rule stuff? James could answer that. People keep asking if Bumbo is Isaac's dad. How could he be Isaac's dad? I don't get it. How are you thinking that is possible? Roughly how many bosses and enemies are you planning to implement? Well, there are 10 bosses. I don't know how many enemies there are, but there are quite a few. And those are the ones that will be implemented when it releases in 2 days. Are there devil deals? That was something we played around with a long time ago, but it didn't work, so we didn't do it. Did I give Northern Lion a key? Of course I gave Northern Lion a key. He actually got one of the first keys, so I'm a little worried if he recorded his plays that he's going to be playing with an ancient build that's riddled with bugs and doesn't have any polish. Have the boss Sangre who appear in the trailer? I don't know what you're asking. All the bosses that have been in the trailers are in the game. I think somebody said this game's looking a bit RNG. It's not that actually. The board is RNG for the most part. And Bumbo the Brave is the most RNG of all the characters because he doesn't have easy ways to edit the board. He's a bruiser. He's tends to be one of the easier characters to kill bosses with. So he's kind of the starter. Everything else is not is pretty not so much RNG. Can you make Isaac's dad a boss in Bumbo? Why would he be a boss in Bumbo? His dad Isaac's Bumbo. Sure. Do I think huts will horribly break the game? I'm interested to see how people will break the game. It's not as easy to break. It's not that kind of game. You can get pretty busted, though. I've seen some combos. Those are definitely there, and I'm excited to see what people come up with that I haven't. Why did you make hard mode in Isaac so weird? I don't know. How was my day? I woke up, I got to work, and I've been working. Hidden achievements? Probably. I don't know if achievements will be out at launch. Is Bumbo Northern Lion's father? That's possible. That's very possible. How well do you think the game is going to review? I have no fucking clue. I'm so clueless. But I'd say this game is an 8.5 to a 9. That's the review that I would give it. I think it's really good. But it's not for everybody. I mean, not everybody's going to enjoy this game. Hopefully, whoever reviews it likes this kind of game. End turn button. We used to have an end turn button. It seemed a little useless. There are situations with some characters you do want to end the turn, and we may play around with bringing that back if that's something people want. But it's not really as needed as something in Slay the Spire or something like that too. Am I sending out more Steam codes to streamers tomorrow, or is that it? If people suggest streamers that I may have missed that are prominent Isaac streamers, I'll probably send out more codes if I miss people. Will there be a Isaac's dad game? Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck Isaac's dad did after he left, so it could be interesting to explore, right? And then it got deleted. All right. Did I give Tears of Grace a code? Yeah. All right, guys. I got to get back to work. Got to try to make more sound effects and finish a trailer that I don't know how to do. I've got to teach myself how to use Adobe Premiere and start doing it. I've really got to do it. It's got to happen. I got to start it. I got the footage. I just need it to go together. And I think I can do it. All right. Spread the word. Tell the world. Enjoy the game. If you want to get 15% off now, you can pre-order it. That's going to go till tomorrow. That'll be your last chance. And there'll probably be a little mini discount for the first week either way, but you'll get the most discount if you pre-order it. Thank you. Send James your love. He is a trooper, and he has been doing a tremendous amount of work on very little sleep for the past couple days, and has a bit of a road ahead of him. So send him your love. Be gentle. Be nice. Be nice to everybody else, and pray to the baby Jesus for Bumbo to release with very few bugs and as much polish as possible. And also pray to the baby Jesus for me to finish the trailer, and remember that I'm supposed to be eating, and I have not been doing that. I forgot lunch. I'll probably eat a banana. Wink. All right. See you guys later. Bye.